Good morning, and welcome to episode 10 of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host, Lockefox, here with the market news. I wanted to thank everyone, because this is the 10th show, actually 11th, since I started counting at 0, because I'm a nerd, of this show, and it's actually more successful than I expected, so I really appreciate all of the goodwill and help that I've got through the show. So I wanted to say thank you. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in for this special EU-friendly stream. We'll go ahead and get straight on to the show. As we usually start, just some quick show news. I'm extending the contest I announced last week because I did a terrible job announcing it. So what I'm looking for are your market and industry stories. So if you go to bit.ly/prosperstory, there's a little Google form. You fill that in with your character name and a little blurb about your story. And next week I will pick out the best ones, and I'll give out at least one Plex. I might give out 2 if there's a couple of really good stories. It's open to everyone. It's supposed to be friendly to the YouTube audience. I did a giveaway a couple weeks back that we gave away in the stream, so I wanted to reach out to the YouTube people. I'd be extremely happy if we could get to 500 YouTube subscribers for that giveaway, but I'm not gonna lock up the thing for that. So, again, go to bit.ly/prosperstory, all lowercase, all one word, and you can send me your industry science story. So, for example, the one I would put in is that when I was doing a lot of Tech 2 manufacturing, early days, I would sell at a bunch of the spoke markets that were right next to LowSec. And I remember I made a lot of money in Ichioria, whatever's next to the Caldari faction warfare space. And at one point, somebody just started putting all of these orders up in what I was selling at, like, JITA prices. And I was really annoyed, so I ended up hiring some mercs. The mercs shut the guy down, and I could pay the mercs off of the added margin from just the work they were doing. So, something like that. I'm looking for something that's sort of actiony and sort of interesting, and things like we mined all the minerals to build our station egg, or we all got together and got some guy a jump freighter, like cool stuff like that. We get to hear all about the killing stories. We don't get to hear a bunch about the market stories. So with that, let's move on to the news, because the news is going to be really brief this week. It's worth noting that IS Boxer is officially illegal as of this broadcast. The ban went into effect on the 1st, and we should expect to see less input automation, more bans. I'm hoping that Team Security puts out some dev blogs in the next couple of weeks before the next release that tell us exactly what happened. It's all going to be speculative for the time being. It's going to be a bumpy ride for the next couple of weeks. It should be worth watching. The next piece of news I wanted to touch on is don't forget to get your Christmas gifts to claim them. They should be available until the 15th. There's also one attached to the account information for either dual skill training or an extra 20 days of account time. So make sure you cash that in. I'd hate to miss out on mostly a Plex, so make sure you're taking care of that. With that out of the way, let's go straight into Plex. Plex continues to fall, which is extremely aberrant. It is not expected. This dip on the RSI is unprecedented. We don't see Plex cross into the sold territory very often. Actually, I've never seen it in the polls that I've done over the last 500 days-ish. So this is extremely weak. a lot of people are predicting that this is the new line heading down, that we're going to get to 650 million ISK Plex. I think those people are insane. I expect things to turn around this upcoming week. So we'll see this next broadcast if I was right. I'm still going to give it the buy rating that I've been giving it for all of December, for the same reasons. I think anything under 850 is a great price, and we should be back on an upward slope, into April. I really should have the year-long picture after this, but I should just write a new blog about Plex in the long term. So I also wanted to reiterate what I talked about last week in case you missed it. Had a discussion a couple weeks back with Noisy Gamer, whose blog is a lot about illicit ISK operations. And he does a lot of research, and if you're really interested on the numbers side of that, he's a blog to go to. And we were arguing on whether Plex is going up or down in the face of the new account bans. I have a hard time saying Plex will go down. I don't like saying Plex will go down. It's a really risky bet. It's way more secure to say Plex will go up. But we may see just a flat curve at the 750, 800 line, for the next week. And it might take one more week until we see if I'm right or wrong. So just keep posted. I still think it's worth buying. If you Plex your account, if you're looking to invest, I think they're both buys. And let's move on. We'll get on to minerals. And again, things have stayed flat. I sort of expected a bigger, I sort of expected this spike and decay and another spike, behavior out of Trit with the IS Boxer bans, seeing as they were announced, and then people would mine anyway, and then they'd spike up again. But we've seen it stay really flat. I think it's going to continue to stay flat around the 6.2 mark. I don't see any good reason why it should spike up very high. It might add a few percentage points at this next week, where the IS Boxer fleets are actually banned rather than going to be banned. So we might see a little bit of upward pressure here, but I don't expect anything like this drastic jump here. Next, let's talk about pyrite. And we're seeing that as I said last week, there was this spike and decay. We might see one more spike now that the IS Boxer thing is over, but these spikes I think are not real. I don't like the way they're behaving. We're still in pretty stable land here in the 12.2, 12.3 area. Again, what I expect for Trit, I expect the same for pyrite. So we might see another spike in the next couple of days, and we might settle around 12.5. That's the prediction I'm going to lock in. Mexilon has stayed flat. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. Again, it might see a very, very slight upward slope in the next week, but otherwise I expect it to be flat. I expect it like 1% movement. Isogen has been up and down. I expect it to stay flat or go down slightly. I still expect the higher end minerals to be in oversupply, even with the IS Boxer bans. Noxium is still high. I expect it to decay down a few percentage points over the next week. Again, high ends I think will be in oversupply, but only barely. Zydrine is staying flat. I expect it to stay flat or maybe fall a little bit down to the 400 mark over the next month. So Zydrine has never been a huge part of my industrial calculus, so I don't pay it a ton of mind. And Megasite has been up, and I think this is uncharacteristic. It should be coming back down. I expect it to be back down at the 750 mark in the next couple of weeks, mostly because I think that we're still going to see an oversupply from nullsec and wormhole space. And Morphite is staying relatively stable. We saw a rise up last week and a fall back down. The volumes are still a lot lower than I'd expect. We saw a ton of action in the run up to Phoebe, and we've just seen this anemic demand for the last few weeks. So I still think that the Morphite demand is way too low, and I don't know why. I expect it to actually climb a little bit higher because I expect this kind of demand, but there might have been some stockpiling or something. I'm not really sure what's going on. Moving on to fuel. A lot of the fuels are starting to tick up. So we saw in both Caldari and we'll see in Galente fuel, as people are sort of understanding the IS Boxer changes, that we should see. So the prediction I have for fuel is that we should see similar efficiencies. That is, the amount of ore coming out of high sec should stay relatively the same. I just expect it to take more hours to get to that efficiency number. So if you were a ice miner and you couldn't find anything because they had been all bought out, they'd been all mined out by the time you logged in, like if you're a US miner and all of the ice belts were empty, there should still be some. Now I expect most of those to be depleted to the same level they are on a daily basis. I just expect it to take longer. We're seeing some instability here in Caldari fuel, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. There's been an uptick in a lot of industrial buys. So I don't know exactly what's driving it, just that there is some weird signals going on. We see that Caldari fuel blocks are trending up even higher than the actual isotopes. So if you have them, now would be a good time to sell them. I expect them to trend down slightly, but this 16K number should be a steady state. 15 to 16K is expected. Oxygen isotopes continue on a rise, and these ones I think will be the most volatile after the IS Boxer changes, because the Galente fuel supply is the least secure. They have the least number of ice systems. They're in the lowest security systems of all the ores, and it's also the highest demanded for capital operations. So I expect this upward trend to keep going. If you can get buy orders, this would be a great chance to go build some fuel blocks. And it's also, I expect this trend to wash out in the advanced material market, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We're also seeing a huge spike in the price of fuel. I expect this to come back down to the 15.5 mark, but this is another great place to be making a few bucks if you're an industrialist. Moving on, helium isotopes stay relatively flat. There's not a ton to report on. I think demand is staying flat, supply is staying flat. There's nothing really to talk about here. Again, we see the weekend spike and decay. No reason why it shouldn't keep doing what it's been doing. Hydrogen isotopes took a quick dip, but are back, and again, I expect them to stay at the 700 mark. Minmatar fuel blocks were high last week, but are coming back down. It might be a good chance to buy if you are in the market for Minmatar fuel blocks. I think they're a little undervalued at the moment. I would like to see them also at the 15 mark overall. Moving on to the outliers, we're going to talk about a few more material products, things that flagged. In the moon material markets, we saw fermionic condensates and phenolic composites both flag as high. And I talked about these last week, that these prices are outrageous. There's no reason to pay them. And fermionic condensates are coming back down, but phenolic composites, have stayed much higher than I expected. I expect them at this 1400 mark. They're not that important a product. They're not that much of a choke point, and they don't require that high grade of moon product. They require a C30, an R32 of cesium, I want to say, but this price is outrageously high. So if you have them, sell them, because I expect 1400, maybe 1450 to be the steady state as Galente fuel blocks come up. Also, nanotransistors are interesting because I think they're undervalued in comparison to the fuel prices coming up, and I think this is an overcorrection down. I believe they should be at the 27, 28 mark going forward, so this would be a good chance to buy, especially if you can get them under the 2550, mark. These would be a great chance to buy and hold, because I expect them to come back up to the 26 or 27 mark over the next week. Another one that is hilariously out of proportion is this plasmonic materials. It looks like there was some sort of buyout manipulation, and it should be coming down, but it hasn't been coming down as fast as I expected. This might be a good chance to also speculate in the, I want to say they're plasma reactors, whichever one are the Minmatar reactors. These will drive those prices. If you can pick them up cheap and relist them, that would be a good opportunity. They also shouldn't take very long to build if you can get your hands on some cheap ones. I'm not sure how wide the buy and sell delta is here, but this price is way too high. I expect it at the 10.5 or the maybe 10.750 kind of level. This is not okay. When it comes to PI products, there are a couple of ones that flagged pretty hilariously. If you are in the business of the high ends, the P4s or P5s, depending on which guide you read, recursive computing modules are extremely high. So sell every one you've got. I wouldn't refactor a factory yet. I expect this spike to come down relatively quickly. But if you have recursive computing modules and they aren't at market yet, you need to get them there and make hay while the sun shines. Another one that is interestingly high is mechanical parts have been on the rise. This would be a great chance if you are in the lower markets to refactor your PI chains, and it may also be an opportunity to play the buy and sell margins on the way up. I don't expect them to climb much above the 7,500 mark, but we could see another spike in the next week or so. So just keep an eye on those. If you're in the business of reacting PI materials, mechanical parts might be worth your time. On the tier 3 production scale, methanofullerene, it had a hilarious spike last week up into this extremely unstable territory, and I believe has over-reset. So this would be a good chance to buy up some, or if you're reacting it, switch your reaction chain. I think we'll come back up to this, I want to say it's 200 or 20K, I can't read however many digits that is. It might be a good chance to buy up, hold for maybe a week, and then sell it off. I think that we're in extremely unstable territory here, and we should be coming back up to the 20,000 mark. I think this level here is the stable state. Talking about ships now, one that I found interesting, and I try to bring up whenever a ship trips a flag because ships don't trip flags very often. The Onyx is way low at the moment, and this might be due to an oversupply, but this would be a great chance to buy up and hold to sell above the 300 million mark. At least I think that's 300 million. And they're extremely popular in, I want to say the CFC still, but I haven't been in the CFC for a very long time. Everybody needs heavy interdictors. Volume has been up on the market, so I think these are a great opportunity for both producers and traders to go buy up, hold for maybe a week or so, and jump on that bandwagon. Another interesting one has been Tengus have been losing popularity, and I think that, like I said last week, I think this is due to a meta shift. I just don't know whose meta is shifting. The prices came down to the 200 million mark, and I thought those were rather low, and they have done a reset in the last day or so. These are ones to keep an eye on. I think that we're going to see a rotation from shield T3s to armor T3s. I have a hard time really pinpointing it because I haven't seen the meta shift. I haven't really read about it anywhere, and I'm not really up to snuff in what nullsec is doing to itself. So just keep an eye on Tengus. I think they're poised to go up slightly, but I don't know if it's a good speculation opportunity. Another interesting one have been Proteuses have spiked in price and come back down. This recent high delta here off the trend line is uncharacteristically high. Coming up to it might be too late to invest, and it might be time to build, but I sort of expect this 250 level. So Proteuses have been on a increase over the last couple of months, but have recently taken this sharp turn up. The volumes aren't particularly noteworthy, so the price didn't stay up that high, but it might be a good chance to build in the upcoming time. Another interesting one that followed a similar trend is the Vargur. I haven't had a Marauder flag the analysis lately, ever. And we saw a spike and a reset. I kind of expect it to over-reset, so if you're in the business of building them, this might be a good chance to push a few extra to market. I don't expect the reset to be that low. I would only buy one or two and hold them for maybe a week. But Vargurs were an interesting flag. Another one on my Confessors Are Amazing speculation rule, Zor's Custom Navigation Hyperlink. Now that's the good one, not the mission trash. Had spiked at the Confessors release, and I think is overly low at the moment. So I expect it to trend back up to the, I want to say that's the 70 mil mark. I think it's overly low, and this is a great chance to buy. So if you're watching live, I would buy like 10 of them right now, this second. Moving on to modules, I thought this one was one of the more interesting ones. EM Ward Amplifier 2s, that's the passive shield hardener. Had a really high spike a couple of weeks ago, but have taken a huge nosedive. Now, I think that nosedive is extremely low, so this would be a great chance for traders to buy up. And if you're in the business of producing them, I would hold off selling because you're probably going to hit a loss, or your margins are going to suck for the next week or so. Another interesting Tech 2 product is Heavy Electron Blaster 2s. Now, I don't know what was the reason why they got bought out so hard here, but I sort of expect this area here to be overcorrected, and I expect the price to track back up slightly. Again, I don't know what drove this original thing, but we should see things turn around pretty quickly. Another interesting spike and overcorrection was the Proteus propulsion interdiction nullifiers. A couple other interdiction nullifiers spiked. I think the prices are slightly low, and so I expect them to track up again slightly. But the this recent spike out, I'm not sure what drove the buyout here, or if there was a big sell-off, or what's going on here. Just thought it was an interesting piece of thing to share. Also, Loki Engineering Capacitor Regeneration Matrix have been doing this spike and drop and spike and drop. I think this drop is exceptionally low, and I expect it to spike again, so this would be another good place to go buy up. Just a word of warning, it looks like only 30 or so sell on an average day, so don't go completely nuts buying up these things. Another one that has been an interesting ride is Capra Charger 1s. We saw them track the reset in mineral prices after the IS Boxer change, and then a whole bunch of instability, jumping up and falling down. I think this fall down is an extremely good opportunity to buy up, because I think that the raw materials that go into it, I think it's under production cost at the moment. So it'd be a good chance to buy up. There are about 500 sold a day. This would be a good spot to buy them up, especially if you are producing the Tech 2 variants. I would buy them up, save the time, and use the extra margin on the Tech 2 product. Another interesting module that I think is over reset is prototype Arbalest heavy assault missile launchers, which we all love our ham drakes. Am I right? So we saw a spike up. I think there may have been a popular sub-meta going on here, and a pop from that bubble, and I think that we're still going to trend up again, so this would be a good chance to buy up a few, hold on to them for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and jump out once the price crests again. I don't expect this wave to repeat more than once, so just be aware in the future here. And I think this one's probably the last. No, it's probably second to last. EMP Large was another one that interestingly spiked way high and fell way low, and at the moment I think is extremely low, so this would be a good chance to buy up. If you are in the business of making faction ammo, this would also be a good chance to save a few bucks on that extra margin. Another interesting over reset is the Valkyrie 2s became extremely popular a couple of weeks back and have reset down extremely low, especially with there was a spike, I believe, last week in the transmitters, I think they're called, the PI product that goes into here. Also with the data cores being so expensive and such high demand for this product, I think that this is an extremely low price for Valkyries, and I expect them to trend up again. So just keep an eye out. That's Valkyrie 2s, not Valkyrie 1s. And then for all my Galente bros, in faction warfare, Federation Navy 10 meganewton afterburners are extremely popular, and I think this might have to do with the Confessor is awesome theory. I've seen a lot of trends where the Confessor fit uses an oversized afterburner, and this might be the one people are choosing. So if you're looking to cash out some faction warfare points, 10 meganewton afterburners might be the place to do it. And then the last ones I have trending back to the fuel points, which I probably should have put this in a different order. Caldari control towers spiked in price, and so have Amar recently. So I don't know who's buying up a bunch of... this might be an undersupply, this might be new demand. The prices for both Caldari control towers and Amar control towers are unseasonably high. They also might track some of the P4, P5 price spikes, so keep an eye out on these. They might still do a 1 or 2 day spike over this weekend. And then the final part of the show, let's talk about the predictions from last week. Last week's huge news was the change in recons, and the Curse was the huge winner, and we saw it spike extremely high, but then has lost a lot of its momentum. I'm not sure. I haven't been following I have not been following the forum close enough to see if there's been a new change, or if there's just... This might also be that production has met up with demand, causing the price to come back down again. I think we're settling in the new normal at the moment, and I still expect the trend to be up, so this might be still a good chance to buy. Just be wary. I don't expect it to come all the way back up here again. Another one that has spiked and popped, and I actually expect it to trend up higher because they did an adjustment on the adjustment. The Lachesis originally spiked up and then came back down, and then they announced that they were adding a 4th turret slot to it, and I sort of expected to trend back up to the 200 million mark. Again, we're probably seeing the same trend we saw in Curses, that production is meeting demand again, and so the trend up might be very slow, so just keep that in mind. And then one I apologized for last week, I think somebody's trolling me, is that Tristan's had done a huge spike, and then they had fallen back down, and I sort of said, well, that's weird because I think the mineral costs are too low, and then they spiked up again. So I think somebody's trolling me, making my tools flag, so that I say things. And then on to my final slide, which has been the 2-month-long promise that we're doing violence reports, and we're still working on the tools, so please be patient. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. For everyone who's tuned in live, make sure to stay around. We'll do a 30-minute Q&A on the chat, so get logged in, ask your questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them, and we'll talk shop. Also, don't forget to stop by bit.ly/prosperstory for the industrial story contest I'm running. I hope to give out prizes next week, but I need more than one. I need 10 stories in there so that I can actually have a pool to pull from and read them out live on the air. So make sure to tune in there. Give me your industrial market story, something that's interesting. Also, make sure to tune in next week. We'll be in our normal U.S. time of Friday 0300. I know that this was a special treat for my EU friends, and I wish I could do this more often, but I do expect to start doing supplements here in January, so keep tuned on Twitter at HLibIndustry to hear about special shows that will be going live at weird time slots. I hope to do 2 a month, and I would love to hear some feedback from you guys on what you'd like to see. So we can, if you guys want me to bring CSM people on, or if you want me to talk to industry people, or if you want me to talk to bloggers, or if you want me to do how to make tools, code style tutorials, I'm open to almost anything. I'd like to do 2 extra shows a month. So without further ado, you've been watching this week's Eve Prosper show, the first of the year, episode 10. I've been your host, Lockefox. You can get in touch with me in-game at Lockefox. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at HLibIndustry. The show is broadcast live Friday nights 0300 on Twitch at HLibIndustry. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more market news.